we're here today to talk about something a lot deeper than that. These usual suspects that bring us to think about logistics. Beyond logistics, what we want us to consider today as we co-create a plan, which we go back to, because it's our leadership that is going to instill a sense of trust in all those teachers that are feeling like that big tsunami wave is hovering over them. It is our leadership that is going to instill a sense of confidence, a sense of guidance, a sense of security and stability, making sense out of the unknown and the ambivalent. We're here to do that. So today, our deeper purpose, and we thank you so much for this relaxed environment of conversing and dialoguing. We have two questions in store for you that are going to take our thinking further, that are going to take our thinking deeper, that are going to make us think about our own thinking in that very critical thinking way and that metacognition way that we prize so much in our students. Let's do it ourselves. And how so? Why don't we take a moment now to think about how education has been transformed? And I'm talking about education. I'm talking about the villains, and I'm talking about the heroes that we have met during this pandemic. I'm talking about our curriculum, our assessment. I'm talking about, all the things that we are now going to very mindfully try to strategically embed the best practices and the innovative techniques and tools. What are we going to hang on to? What are we going to bring back to our brick and mortar schools? What are we going to do with that? And for this, we have staged for you, we want you to be our guests in our first breakout room session. To those of you who have never been in one, we're going to explain. If you can scroll back to the question, or maybe you're going to put those up later, but the idea is that in the breakout room, we are going to discuss two things. One, the things you have discovered from your own personal perspective in your own school type setting from your own position. And two, what would you do differently? What would you do differently? So thinking back that very reflective piece, right? So we're going to arrange you very neatly into these breakout rooms. When you're there, please do turn your video cam on so you can engage with the other assistants. I'm gonna let Gabriela give you some instructions whilst I very diligently create the little breakout rooms. I'm gonna do the best with math here. I have 17 participants, guys, and we're going to create.
Okay. We're gonna then ask you to just introduce yourself briefly. At the beginning of the forum, somebody was asking if we could talk a little bit about from where is everyone. So please just very briefly tell where are you at geographically right now? What is your school position? And then just discuss a little about both questions. I think it's important to give yourself time so that everybody can share what that experience has been. Please choose someone or make someone be able to report back when we come back from the break room. We're going to give you 15 minutes. We think it's a good amount of time. We'll see if you have any question. In the breakout room, there's a button where you say where you can ask for help. You can press it, and then Andrea or I can move over and help you with whatever you need. And when Andrea activates the breakout rooms, there'll be a window that says join the breakout room. Just click on it, and you'll be in there. It will be there for the 15 minutes. There'll be a counter, a countdown when when you have 1 minute left, so that you can very quickly just agree on what you want to report back for your group. And I think that's it. If you have any questions right now, please just let us know. You can unmute yourself and ask, and we can of course clarify.
Good idea. Before we put you in the rooms, and we'll keep a time on that. So Gabriela, I don't know if the original questions can be visible to them, or if you want to scroll back to them quickly before we break out. That might be helpful. So there we go. What have we discovered, and what would we do differently? Okay, so I'm going to open all the rooms now, and we'll be coming around to visit with you. Okay. Yes.
It's not a corporation, more like a association. So they guide people around Helsinki. So we got to know how the education system works there and what can we implement in Ecuador. So my mother was invited to this group by her. Well, she's busy, so I'm here, and well, my English is better than my mother, so there. Oh, hello, Andrea. Nice to meet you.
David, thanks for joining us and stepping in for your mom. It's wonderful to see you're being so proactive. Welcome. Who is your mom anyway?
Lilian Moreno.
Ah, Lilian from Ecuador.
Yes.
Yes, of course. We know all about Lilian from our experience in Finland, correct? And you were just saying the word Finland when I came in, so perfect timing. Thank you. And who else do we have in the group? Priscila, we have Carmen and Jorge Ferrari. Okay, where are you joining us from today? Priscila?
I am coming from Barranquilla, Colombia, South America.
Muy bienvenida. Welcome, Priscila. So great to have you with us today.
Yes.
I think you're here on behalf of Diego, yes?
He invited me over to join the group. I thought it was a wonderful opportunity to hear more about what are we going to do with our new realities. And I was just talking to the group about, this has given us a time to rethink education and to actually, go on doing what we think is the best for the kids. And we knew that what was happening before was not the best, with the 50-minute periods and a bell ringing and kids just switching to another subject area. For me, it was terrible. And I always hated it, but it was, we didn't have a time to reflect, and teachers had not been pushed into a situation where they thought, oh my God, we really do need to do something about it. So we didn't have the courage to do the change. So this is a very special moment. So I'm really rethinking on what is it that we're going to do different and better when we return, because we won't have an opportunity like this to actually make changes and have the whole school community believe in us and move us forward. So that's like my big goal.
It sounds amazing, and thank you for articulating that so well, because you just mentioned the crux of the whole problematic in education. We've all, as educators, been looking towards this paradigm shift, I dare to say, and we just really didn't know which way to go about it. And now that it's been forced on us, it's funny how we humans have to do things sometimes by force, and it's because we get so comfortable in our comfort zones that it's very difficult to exit that. And we see that over and over in many aspects of our life. So education is no different. Thank you for sharing that insight. Who do we have here? Mari Carmen. Hi, Mari Carmen. Maybe you guys already shared
Hi.
before I came, so I don't want to, you know.
No, we were listening to David. He was telling us about his experience in Europe, but we didn't hear exactly what he found out or what new perspectives you brought from there.
Well, it was interesting. Some of the teachers who went with us were thinking about the fact that, oh, in Finland they have so much money and so much resources and the technology and the government and stuff. But I think what I learned was that in the core of everything there was the method and the passion from the teachers to do their thing, to teach. So I think that's the most important thing about education, the environment in the classroom and the dedication the teachers themselves show to their students. So I think yes, it would be great if the government gave us more technological resources and stuff, but in the very core, it's the teacher and their relationship with the students. I That's what I have been trying to implement in my classes, to be not just the teacher but also a friend, up to a point, of course, because we can be
David,
truly friends. Yes.
what do you teach, David?
I teach mathematics to the higher courses. Here we call them bachillerato.
Yep.
I think it's the three-letter grades in United States, and so
Yep.
yes, because I love that kind of mathematics, the more advanced one.
Guys, thank you for sharing that, David. And your English was brilliant, by the way. I heard you complaining about it earlier, but it's fantastic. You're expressing yourself so well. Thank you for articulating all of your ideas. I'm going to pop over to the next meeting room, and you guys have about, I think, 8 more minutes left. So we'll see you back in a little bit. Yes? Go ahead. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
En ese sentido y lo pudimos llevar a cabo. Hola, Andrea.
Hi, everyone. I'm just quickly stepping in just to make sure everybody's okay. You don't need any help. Remember the questions if you have time to address them. But I see you're having lovely conversation. I'm so happy to see all of you here. And you're with some of our previous of our forum friends, Belen and Eugenia and Diego, and welcome to Hortensia. I see that you are a newcomer, and we're so happy to have you. I hope you're enjoying yourself today.
Thank you very much.
Buenísimo. Tienen como 5 minutos más, okay? I'm just reminding everyone, and we're going to close out the breakout room. So maybe if you can wrap up some points to bring back and share, we would love to hear from you. Thanks, Diego, the thinker. I love this hand posed here. The thinker by Rodin. You know, it's one of my favorite sculptures, the Impressionist Rodin, and that poised look. It always so telling about what's going. I tell my kids, you know, do the thinker and scratch your chin to show your ideas. Anyway,
But it actually does help me. I don't know why, but when I'm thinking of something, or paying attention closely, I notice that I go into this pose. And it's not by design. I don't know. It just happens naturally. You're right.
No, bueno, pero te queda fantástico. Chloe, she's agreeing with me, pero te queda fantástico, and I could totally see you being so, you know, reflective, and I use that a lot as a nonverbal communication with students, or even with, you know, my teachers, and when you're just like that, it tells that you're deep in your thought, and it's an unconscious way of letting them know that we care about what's being said and that we're actually pausing and reflecting and contemplating. And it's such a great, I love it. And it's one of my favorite sculptures. You, from now on, I'm baptizing you as my thinker. Thank you, Diego. Te
Thank you.
quiero. Okay, see you in a little bit. You guys have about 4 minutes.
Okay,
Okay.
bye.
The sanitizer tunnel is like once they enter, like the students will be coming with the social distancing, like they'll be coming in buses also. So in buses also, like half of the seats will be like vacant, like no one is going to sit on that. Like if the 3 students are sitting on a one long seat, so we're making 2 children sit. So once they board down from the buses, then they will enter to tunnel. So one by one, when they enter, so they will sanitize with the chemical, but that chemical is eco-friendly. It's not going to harm them in any way. Fine, it's good for their skin. And so once they're completely sanitized, the student will be carrying their own sanitizer small bottles in their pocket. Otherwise, we also have a stock in school. If somebody is going to forget, we can give them from the school also. Apart from it, we have a temperature, thermogun, the small thermoguns through which we can measure the temperature. And we'll be having one ambulance. We have our own ambulance of school. If we find that someone has come with the temperature is more than 98.4 degree.
Then
So
you're gonna
we'll
send
be
them
sending-
home? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be sending them
Hi,
home with the
Hitesh. Hi,
parent.
Kathy. Hi, Heather. Hi, Mauricio. Sorry to interrupt. Just very quickly to let you guys know you have about 3 more minutes to wrap up, and I'll be closing the rooms. Hitesh, you look extremely handsome today. You got a haircut.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
You know,
Thank you so
me and
much.
your
Thank you so
parents
much.
in the best shape
Thank
of
you.
all. You look in the best shape today. And look at Kathy.
Thank you.
I know you've had meetings this morning. You're looking radiant, Kathy. And of course, Heather, who I've been seeing during the course with Yogita, and my dear friend Mauricio, who's all the way in, what is it, Fort Lauderdale? Keeping safe in Florida, Mauricio, I hope. So
Thank you, Andrea. See you the next week.
yeah, well, we will. I'll be traveling very soon to join the family and loved ones. So I'm happy you could join today, Mauricio. I'm going to pop over to the next meeting room. You guys have about 3 minutes. Oh, and by the way, Hitesh, I don't know if you know this about Hitesh, but I'm going to share a secret with you.
Okay.
Hitesh, you know, he's got these amazing protocols, and he's got the first ever green school that he created. When was it, Hitesh? Maybe some 5-6 years ago?
Yeah. It was in 2013 we opened the school, and then in 2016 we made it a green school.
Yep.
So
I was very impressed with that initiative, and thinking about that in this whole, you know, new light of how we can now not only have it be a green school, but also be a school that, you know, is prepared for receiving students in this new way, with this new, facing this new paradigm. I'm sure you had a lot to contribute. My friends, I'll see you in just a couple minutes. Sending my love to each and every one of you.
Thank you.
Of what I would do differently is there are things that have been true about education all along, and they continue to be true. When you were saying about Dina, you were saying, no, Renata, you were saying something about emotional therapy, you know, and the emotional work that we need to do with teachers. That has always been true. I mean, sometimes it's not been COVID, but it's been about the economic situation.
All of you, I see Mark and I see Renata. Everybody's just nodding, empathizing, generating oxytocin. This is what the brain does. When we tell stories and we bond and we engage, we become much more closer to our colleagues, our students. And I can see you've done an amazing job, this group, because all of you have come in and you're like, you know,
No. It's great. It's great. Mark and Renata have given so much input, and I've been able to express my frustration, today's frustration. Today, yes.
Talk about generating a good vibe. Just with that sound of that laugh, Mark, you got it. You got this group, you got it. You got it going. I'm here to remind you, we're gonna come back to the main room in just about 2 minutes if you wanna wrap it up. And it was my bad that I didn't set the timer to 15. Apologies for my first ever time hosting breakout rooms, which my colleague Gabriela kindly reminded me, hey, you forgot to set the timer. So I'm going around to each of the rooms offering my most sincere apologies from my heart. And anyway, giving you 2 more minutes to wrap it up, and I'll see you soon. Toodaloo. So welcome back, everyone. I hope you all traveled safely between the barriers and boundaries of our virtual connection in this a little bit of a sci-fi world that has been co-hosted by Zoom in our first ever breakout room meets. I hope nobody got trapped in some sort of parallel universe, Zoom universe there, which may not be all that bad if we're thinking about Zoom. Zooming in, zooming out, or being all zoomed out, which is what I got from some heads of school. Nigel Fossey, by the way, Kathy apologized and said, hey, I've done all the zooming I can for the rest of the week, month, and perhaps a year, so he's recharging. But since
understandable, they're pushing us hard. They're pushing us hard, Andrea.
Yeah, Kathy, you bet. So like he said, and to use his words, and you can say I did that, and I even wrote it down because I said, Nigel, there'll be a part of you with us. He said, never has such a holiday been so anticipated. There we go, from Nigel Fossey, from his inspired school to yours. Wonderful. So back from breakout room, I visited all of you, and I just want to maybe lead the beginning of the discussion. I know that Gabi gave specific instructions as to somebody to feed back to everyone. I just want to open up by saying, I've realized that all of you were saying we cannot go back to school the way we were. And there you were busily rethinking the things that you do in order to prepare. And a lot of you were talking about pace. How do we pace ourselves? How do we pause? So I'm gonna open it up, and out of our 4 groups, who would like to go first and share some of your thoughts from question 1 or question 2? Either is very well received. I've got Gabby on the mouse there, you can see it blinking. She's gonna translate your words. She's gonna give us a few bullets so we can keep it all nice and coherent together for everyone, and you can take it home or take it back. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Let's see. Don't be shy, or I'm gonna have to take out my dice and roll it and then come up with a number and maybe give each one of you a turn as we do in class. Or pull out a pencil.
Okay, I'm here.
Hey,
I'm here.
Woohoo!
Hi. Well, we talked a lot, and what have we discovered? Well, myself and we talked about it in the group. We have discovered that the children are more capable of using the technology than we thought. And that we have to take advantage of this fact. And that's for question number 1. And what would we do differently? Maybe if I knew this was going to happen, we would have trained the kids to use Classroom, to use Zoom, to use Meet, to use all these tools and prepare them for this scenario that is we didn't expect, right?
Thanks.
And I don't know if my friends from the same group, they want to add something.
We thank you. We thank you so much for being the voice of your group, and so as to bring to light all of your thoughts. Just to piggyback on what you said, and I know Heather hates that expression, the piggyback expression. But you know, what I was hearing is about you'd be better prepared by really focusing and honing in on skills. If I heard correctly, the kind of skills that you would want to train or, you know, address and teach. Maybe we could call them virtual skills, right? Going into this thing, being better prepared. What are the sort of skills that we're looking into addressing and really getting in there and teaching, besides all the ones that we already do, and how that's going to come across in that virtual environment, right? So thank you, Gabi, for taking those notes so diligently. And thank you, Mari Carmen. I hope I didn't cut you off too quickly. It wasn't my intention. Oh, thanks. She's waving at me. An empathic wave goes such a long way. And the hands in prayer. Oh, come on, my heart. You've just made me generate volumes of oxytocin toward you. Now I empathize. You're my friend in this virtual environment. So important, the nonverbal language, guys. And I think this is what we're getting at, right? The connective piece and how we teach that, how that becomes a teachable skill. Okay, let's go to the second one. Gabi is already on post-it number 2. Unmute your microphone to the second breakout room. Please go ahead. Oh, I know what I can do. I have Belén, Diego, Eugenia, Hortensia, and Manuel. They were all in the second breakout room together. Any of you are welcome to share the group's thinking. And we want to thank those guys in breakout room 1, David, Jorge Ferrari, Mari Carmen, and Priscila. Thank you all for your input. Moving on to breakout room 2. Go ahead, guys.
Well, I'll say some. I think one of the things we discovered is that not all our kids are the digital natives we thought they were. They're very good for social media use, but to use technology to create, to truly collaborate was, I think, something that we've learned. And it also helped, obviously, improve the skill level of our teachers with the use of technology. That was another thing. And another thing we discussed was that I think we discovered that there is a lot of things, and maybe a lot of, I don't know if this is the right word, but a lot of fluff in what we're doing or the types of activities. So to have a more serious reflection and focusing on what are really the essential skills, and focusing on that, because the new environment forced us to do that. And we also discovered assessment, the importance of assessment, and that in my case, I shared that our assessment has become very personalized in this environment. One, to get valid results, but also, but it's not based on that we distrust our students or mistrust our students. It's also based on we really want to validate what they really know. And we discovered that the best way to do that is to really do it hands-on, really. In Spanish, they have a great word for it, sustentar. Sustentar your knowledge, really show what you really know. So I think that is some of what we learned. I don't know if anybody else wants to add something.
Diego, that's excellent. Thanks so much. I did visit your group, and on the subject of assessment, and I know that Kathy was really concerned about this at one point in one of our prior sessions. I know that you've been working really hard, and I really admire this about the projects and personal projects that you led at school, whereby you're really able to go back to the essential, which is how do we give students, agency, and how do we ground their learning in their interests, right? So one of these, what you're talking about, it really brings that to mind, how we can use their areas of strength to sort of capitalize on their learning. And I think that you were closing in on some of those personal projects, and what a great thing to be able to assess students on these things that are that really motivate them, right? So assessment, yes, becomes very important to focus on.
And if I can add something, we also started doing something which we discovered there were some students that were having some difficulties with something or needed a little bit more support. And the teachers were able to set up moments and time where they could meet and individually conference with each student and do that tutoring kind of ongoing. But to do that, we realized, again, we had to really look at what we were doing and cut down on certain things, not only within their classes, but also me as a school leader. I had to really decide what is really important for them to spend their time and energy. And we decided it's focusing on the kids' learning process and not some of the bureaucratic, let's say, red tape that sometimes schools get caught up in.
Wow, that's excellent how you articulate that. And Priscila in the other group was talking about less is more, and she was talking about pace, how we cut out all that stuff in the curriculum that is non-essential and how we prioritize. I'm sorry, I spoke too quickly, and I did hear like a little voice coming from behind. I didn't mean to cut anyone off.
Sorry, Andrea, it was me. I just wanted to, we were also discussing what Dr. Sugata Mitra said in another conference. I just said what he said, but I didn't say that he pointed out that in a conference. Okay, I'm talking too much.
No,
He said,
you're doing great. You're doing great.
that-
You just didn't want to take credit for what he said, and you're putting it in your own words. We don't love that, Jenny. That's awesome.
the assessment could be more concept-based and more understanding-based and inquiry-based, where you can pose a problem and children can solve that problem collaborating and also showing the development or how they are, how they are developing their skills. And it is important because in a point we were concerned about sharing information during exams, and that's collaboration in real life. I mean, here we are collaborating, hearing each other, because we want to do our best when we go back and, well, after our summer break. And this is real life. So that's how assessment should be seen also. Digital and face-to-face learning.
It's a great, great conclusion. I remember that part of Sugata's discussion really well, and you've been able to share that with us. It brings two words to mind to me. It's become evident that we need to be feeding back to our students much more than only during a summative test. So ongoing assessment, and if I remember correctly, formative assessment is what becomes much more valuable to us as educators. You use the word developing. So we want to assess them as things are happening and going on, not just at the end of the road. So I think you've pointed something very important out. And just so you know, also at the college level, and we've engaged with the people that do all of the admissions and entrance testing, and myself being a mother of two teenagers. Cami is 20, she's at Georgetown now, and she's in her junior year, and Valeria, she's 18, she's at the Ibero, and they've gone themselves through all this admission process testing. Just to let you know that because of this whole situation, we now see that the message coming out from them is that they no more think to be concentrating slowly on the CATs, the CATs, the SATs, because they couldn't, this whole process is changing the whole way we look at admissions. We are not going to just lay it down into these kind of testings that couldn't be launched. This is what I'm trying to say. These kind of tests could not be launched during this pandemic. And so they've had to turn a little bit around the way that we're approaching entry into university levels. So, right, it's not only about the summative, but the formative. It becomes much more valuable, and less is more. And I like what you said, process versus product, right? So thank you for allowing me to pitch into your reflection, Eugenia and Diego's group, and Hortensia and Manuela and Belen. We thank all of you. I'm moving on now to breakout room 3 with Dina, Gabriela, Mark, and Renata, hoping to hear from one of you. If you can share with us all that fun you were having in there when I came in. You were dancing and hopping and laughing and just having a party without the rest of us. I mean, please go ahead.
I guess Mark could Mark explain, please?
I was going to nominate Mark as well. Yeah, I agree. You've been voted unanimously. Please, Mark.
That's the price I pay for being the big mouth.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, it was actually a good discussion about very serious issues. So hopefully there was a ray of light involved in there. So, you know, one of the persons in the group specifically talked about, you know, what's going to happen in the future? How do you keep things going when you're losing students and parents are struggling to pay? And the other comment that came up that obviously resonated with me as a theater and debate person was someone said we should have more special classes. That was a request that they got from their community for their students, like arts classes or cooking classes they mentioned. You know, just things that let the students kind of unwind. They have value to them, but they're different than the regular classroom. And I thought that that was very important. And then so I brought up something that kind of, I think, resonated with everybody was, you know, we keep hearing that everybody is uncertain about what's going to happen, but that's not necessarily true. I mean, and I say that, you know, taking the hit that I'm not an administrator, I'm not in the same position as y'all, but maybe that gives me a different perspective that could help you, you know, more objectively looking at this, is you do know the issues, you do know what to expect, because there's the things that you fear that are going to happen, and it's either going to be best case scenario, worst case scenario, or something in the middle. And we were talking about how interesting it would be to sit down and look at those issues one by one and try to do some scenario planning for what would we do if this were the best case scenario? What would we do if this were the worst case scenario? Or what would we do if this was exactly what we expect to happen in September or October? And then Gabriela was really insightful with summing it all up in our group, saying that we do know the issues. We do know what is involved in the scenario that we're set in, and we can at least plan for something, you know, or that was what I took out of what she was saying. Gabriela can add to that if I didn't exactly capture it exactly. But I think that gave people like a bit of hope in there, is to think about, let's take this problem, which seems huge and insurmountable, and let's break it down into its pieces, and let's analyze it from there. And I think that would be a lot more effective for those of you who are having to make very important decisions and handle very difficult issues.
Mark, that was
said. You were really good at summing it up. Sorry, Renata, go.
No, go ahead, Gabriela, go.
No, I was just going to say that Mark did a great job, and that's why we nominated him.
Now, all of a sudden, we all want to speak. Yay! This is what happens. See, when you generate comfort and confidence, and you know, go ahead, Renata, be our guest.
I just wanted to share with you that IB is having out leadership in their leadership series, the documents. They have a discussion from series about returning to school and what to think about, and it matches a little bit about Mark, because it has the worst scenario, the middle, and the best, right? And I think that helped me a lot in this discussion to really think about my worst and my best, and then you get there in the middle somehow. But these reflections that in the discussion prompts that I read, and they're really good, is all of them has a lot to do with thinking about the well-being of the people involved in this, students, the community, parents, and how to think in that worst scenario for them, best scenario for them. So yes, I think that what is really important is that we have discovered many very good things, and we should not let them go. Not only bad things and needs, but very good things that we have discovered. Like this works, it can work somehow. So I think we should not only think in what we would do differently, but what we will keep with us coming back.
That's
and
awesome.
also, Renata, I'm sorry, you said during our group discussion, which I think is very true, that one of the things that you would keep would be the therapy, the group therapy for teachers. And that's why we were kind of joking on saying, well, yes, I mean, these issues, they're not new. We do know that the sanity of our teachers is the essence of the sanity of our students and everything working out. So yeah, and there are more things that we do know that we don't know. So there's hope, right?
Yeah, sorry I left that part out. That was a very critical comment.
Okay. Well, this group has done really well about being very verbal all together and just building on each other. That was awesome. And what I heard about most is, you know, just instead of just being shocked with uncertainty, right? Just making some sense out of that chaos. And Gabriela loves to say this, just roll with the punches, right? And I love what Renata says about, you know, it's not just about innovating and bringing in new stuff, but what can we keep from what already was going on so nicely, right? So how we can actually keep routines and structures that promote, and I'm going to use the well-being piece here because I think it's fundamental. There is no learning without well-being. We know that. We've been working so closely with Finland, with School Day, and those guys actually found a way to measure well-being, believe it or not. So we're very excited at the prospect of how technology and artificial intelligence can actually be a tool that aids us in bringing that well-being component, which is such an intangible component at times, but to actually make it data-driven and actually be something of measure that we can work with and respond to our communities with, our students, ourselves, our teachers, and our parents ultimately. I know some of you have been mentioning parents and how they're so much more present now in the homes, which have become our classrooms. But I'm going to stop there and give the word to breakout room number 4. Thank you, breakout room number 3. We acknowledge Dina, Mark, Renata, Gabriela in that group. Awesome, guys. And group 4, Heather, Hitesh, Mauricio, and Miss Kathy Scallon. Please be our guest and come on board. Unmute your mics. Share with us your learning.
It looks like Heather wrote a beautiful summary in the comments.
Oh,
Way to
wow.
go, Heather.
Just in
Could
case.
you read it out, please?
And I have a question. Kate, is it Kathy or Katie?
It's Katie.
Okay, I didn't know. I really say I was like, I haven't had completed it. I haven't made it to the market. So I just wrote that my big takeaways from our breakout group was knowing the similarities of wishing we had more feedback or communication with parents, and that if we could do something differently, it would be to have more parent forums with staff members, with directors, with just a larger group. And Katie and I both had an aha moment from Hitesh. He shared about the relativity of what's going on with COVID, and then also that and learning about the bigger issues that have been going on for thousands of years and that are really present now, whether it be climate change or water issues, and really taking a focus with learning about nature and how important it is to really think about how we're taking care of one another and our planet. And he has a green school in India that he created, and we learned so much from him. And then Katie also said something really profound with her staff, and it's about people choosing to be resilient or not. She noticed that there was a great variation in coping skills, and shared that the people with the good coping skills should have a way to share what worked for them, and then have another way to support people that were struggling with teaching or learning or all of those things. And then Tesh also shared what his school is doing, and he can also tell more about that. But my takeaways were that they have distancing put in place on their school buses. When they get to school, they have a big sanitation process, that there's an environmentally safe chemical that's sprayed, and the kids have their own hand sanitizer, and they have different temperature checks throughout the days, and there's an ambulance that's on site. And he also shared that I think we all felt that everybody was just stressed out, and at the beginning it was all kind of new and exciting, but once that kind of wore off, there were emotional difficulties and some domestic violence even that they talked about, and I heard that in our previous meetings. And so how people are really thrilled to get back to some sense of normalcy. So I don't know what else other people might add, but those are my takeaways.
Heather, you're so good at synthesizing, summarizing, and adding meaningful interpretation. And you're always so kind to never leave everyone out. And look what you did with Kati's name. You just like shed a whole new layer of meaning. It's Katie, not Kati, as I continue to call her. So Katie, I apologize.
Either way is just fine.
Awesome.
Thank-
I love this about Heather. She always goes the extra little bit to make sure everybody's feeling loved and secure. And I loved what your group shared about nature. It's my big understanding and takeaway from this too, that we learned so much from nature, and it's been telling us, screaming out loud, you know, you guys need to stop. You guys need to be aware of the environment. You guys need to just, you know, get back to how things used to be, and go back to this sense of respect for Mother Nature, always so wise, and giving us this chance to pace ourselves. And I've been hearing this thing about rhythm and pacing, and how we can just take a step back and be more reflective. And by talking about nature, you've really brought that to light, Heather. And I know Hitesh has a lot to do with it, with his green school in India, and he's wise beyond his years. So I thank you for reflecting the thoughts of the group, Heather. Thanks so much. And applause to group 4 with Mauricio, Miss Katie Scallon, and Miss Heather from Missouri, and Hitesh from India. Any closing remarks from anyone? And maybe now we can take a look at the beautiful summary created here by Gabriela.
I think if we all realize, it's just that it's not that we don't know, it's that sometimes we need to give ourselves the time to acknowledge what we do know, because we go through these experiences, and it's and of course we are generating from those experiences a lot of lessons that sometimes we haven't given ourselves the time to just take them and you know, project them onto the things that we need to continue facing as these things develop. So we unless somebody else has something else to add.
I think you summed it all up neatly, no? In a beautiful visual web of words.
So, sorry, Andrea, I would like to ask a favor. Thank you for the generosity of the ones who have come back to their schools. I think your experience can be really enlightening for us that have not returned yet. We are still in a remote learning, and I really thank you, Hitesh, for sharing with us your ideas, and also Mark Weber offered to share his ideas. Any document, any protocol would be extremely useful for us, the ones that have not returned yet. Thank you very much again for the generosity.
Hi, Jenny, you're
Diego?
Yeah, I just wanted to share something that has been my experience in the last few months, especially. I think as school leaders now, even though it's tough and we've got to do obviously self-care, we got to take care of ourselves, but like it or not, it's on us to be positive, to be well informed, to transmit confidence, security, and even in these very uncertain times, we have to do everything possible to show parents, teachers, and students that we have a way forward, at least. And I think we have to always go back to our mission, our vision, our core values as a school. How everything we're doing, even though things may be changing, our mission, our vision, our core values are not changing as a school. We're still focused on those. The path we're taking may be a little bit different than what we've done, but that's important, I think, for the community to feel from us. And that's why sometimes one of the issues I feel we've had at our school is we sometimes spin our wheels a lot, trying to find that perfect solution. And some of what one of my big mentors in education, which is Priscilla, who's here with us in the group. I worked with Priscilla joyfully for almost 6 years. The less is more, what she mentioned. Sometimes good is good enough at the moment. It has to be, because if we're focusing on getting that super great or that perfection, we're probably not going to see it. And in the meantime, what that creates for our community is just uncertainty. It creates more, and it creates that lack of being able to make a decision with the best information we have at the moment, with what is best for our students at the moment. I think that's part of being a leader, and it's tough because obviously not all of those are going to come out perfectly, but I think we have to be able to make those tough decisions right now, because it's not easy. That's what I wanted to leave with.
That's such a wise comment, Diego. Thanks for using the raise your hand. Sometimes I tend to speak over people, and it's not my intention, but that was a good move. I want to say that it's so wise what you've just said. And isn't that what we expect of our students? To make mistakes so they can learn from them? So then why aren't we modeling more of that in a way that is, you know, a little bit easier? My good friend, colleague and mentor, Armando Andrade, I don't know if he's still on or not on or listening to me, but he always taught me that a mistake plus a reflection equals learning. And that's always accompanied me, and it's something that I've always talked about with my students, and it's part of the core of an educator, right? We need to be ready to make mistakes if we're ever gonna do or discover anything new. So don't be afraid, because in that failure, you know, look at Thomas Alva Edison, and all his failed attempts, but finally what happened, no? He was able to pull through with that, and that's the crux of invention and of creativity and of innovation. So don't forget that's what we're doing. We're innovating, yet having that anchor, as Diego really well mentioned, and I can tell you're a mission-driven leader, and I really empathize with that. Having the mission at the core, it's like having that sail on your ship, that mast, that steady, you know, a compass. We know where we're going. We know where we're headed. Our bases are solid. It's fundamental to never forget and never lose sight of that whatever decision we make, we're always going to make it based on our mission, based on the well-being of our community, right? So if we always keep that in mind, we can never go wrong, because the decisions will be made in the best interest of all. And thanks for reminding us of that, Diego. Awesome, and thumbs up for everybody. As we wrap up our discussions, I think that the intention is to leave the mic open if anybody else wants to do, like Diego, raise their hand or just unmute and go ahead. But Gabi, don't you want to like put the next slide up just so they can visually see what all the things that they've already talked about and discussed with us, the lessons learned?
Andrea, I would like to just
yes, Hitesh.
One small thing. Actually, see,
Hitesh, we can hear you very faintly. Can you please speak up or turn up your volume or get closer to your audio?
Actually,
much better,
you see
much
that,
better.
yeah, is better. See, after Corona is for a temporary period. Maybe it's going to over by 3 months. Fine. But after that, again, as a human being, we'll forget that. Again, we are going to destroy the nature, because we human being are little selfish. We forget everything, you know. This time also we'll forget. Now we are very sensitive. We are discussing so many things about the protecting of nature. We become so sensitive now because the problem is there. That's why we are sensitive. Once the problem is over, again we are going to become the non-sensitive for the nature. So something must be taught to the children, which keep on reminding them that they have to be very, very careful for the nature. This Corona is not as dangerous as the problem are going to come in future. I was just talking to children and they were sharing, sir, there's only 1% drinking water is there on this planet. 1% drinking water. And the next, if we are not going to save water, it will pollute it. So maybe the next fight will be for the water only. And after that, the third fight will for the oxygen. Maybe the student will be carrying small oxygen cylinder at their back and they'll be coming to school. So this, I know that this Corona has given us a kind of pause in our life so that we can think that, you know, where we were lagging, what we were not doing. So what we were not doing, was that we were not sensitive to the nature. So we should include somewhere in our curriculum, in classes where the children will be keep on reminding that we have to be friendly with the nature. We have to be, there's no way we cannot go without nature. We have to be that. So, and secondly, you see, during this online education, initially, everyone was so, happy, excited. But now let me tell you, in this stage, the children are frustrated. They don't want to sit for long hours, so that's why we have planned little break in the session, like one session, then the 10 minutes break, third session, then 10 minutes break. So because sitting before a screen for long hours will also impacting on their health. So now we are eagerly waiting that the school start, but this online education is not so effective. We'll see that, it's a temporary solution. So if we want a permanent, permanent human face-to-face talk, that good environment, the only way is that we have to be close to nature and we have to save nature. Thank you so much for listening, Andrea, and for this time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hitesh, for helping us wrap it up like that. Really loving that thing about taking those little breaks, if ever it was important, and the Finns certainly highlight that in their practice. After every lesson block, there's a 15-minute break, and those kids are out there playing, whether rain, storm, shine, snow. I know because we were there when we studied at the University of Lapland, and we visited all the Finnish schools. Hitesh, you saw it too, and those kids were there, and in their big suits, and nothing like engaging in nature, taking a pause and letting the brain soak in and process all the learning to make meaning of it. So thank you for reminding us of that once again, Hitesh. And Gabi, you are gifted. Let me tell you, look at what she's done. Once again, impressing us here with her. She can translate, synthesize, and put everybody's thoughts into these well-articulated phrases so that you can take back a little piece of the lessons learned. And all of them are meaningful, and they have come from you guys. Talk about building the learning together. Talk about co-constructing, co-creating something in the spirit of inquiry, in the spirit of discussion. And I always thank Gabi for being able to give it back to us in such a smart visual. And I don't know if you want to go through them, Gabi, or we already have.
I think it came up in all of the group discussions, and we do realize, and I guess we just want to mention them to emphasize a little bit. Like, we do notice that some students thrived, but some really struggled. So one of the things that we do need to keep in mind as we continue on this is that we need to find a way to reach those who struggle. And some of you mentioned about the tutoring and the different ideas that we need to do, and the less is more that is also there, no? That, yeah, maybe that's something that all students need to benefit from, which is focusing on this part of having student agency and autonomy, which has been an issue. When we did the poll, we all noticed that the part where students need to be more skilled on driving their learning, and certainly that relevance of working on those skills for learning, which is much more important than when we focus on content. Certainly we all mentioned something about well-being at the core, and certainly also the part of this space of relevance of emotional skills to adapt and overcome obstacles, because we did notice that not necessarily everyone has this resilience and these skills to face uncertainty or to face stressful situations, handle their anxiety. That's something that we really need to keep in mind also. And finally, yes, technology, no, because it limits many things. It's true. It will never be the same, the one-to-one, face-to-face contact, but it also opens up a whole avenue of things. And that's something that Renata shared in our small group discussion when she was saying, there are things that we want to keep about distance learning, even if we don't have a virus, and even if we don't need to continue doing virtual classes. We were heading that way anyway. We just need to tweak and perfect this so that we can keep this in mind, and as we continue, and those who are on our summer break, just let it simmer in our minds and just figure what we need to do.
Gabby,
definitely.
that was really well summarized. And I think that in order to wrap up the end of our session, we just wanted to do what we always want our teachers to do, is that to take the takeaway piece, broken it up for you in 4 little sections. The idea is that maybe you pick 1 or 2 and write it up on the side chat bar for us. What thing is it that you want to take away from today and bring back maybe when you scaffold discussion with your staff? It could be one thing about how you're going to connect, collaborate, or engage in motivation, agency, appealing to student interest, and creating community. Because one thing the pandemic has taught us is that more than just creating community with our classroom and our students, our staff and our school, is how we've reached out, and we've had some wonderful examples of schools that have strived to be socially responsible and to give back to the community and to help those in needs by way of preparing nourishment for others in need. I know that in Mexico it's been very powerful, the giving back component, and to teach our students this, as Hitesh says, the pandemic is here, and the learnings is all about how our students will perform from now on, or take away from this. But as citizens and as human beings, how are we prepared now to give back and be better, take advantage of what we've learned to transform? So I guess the idea on this one, Gabriela, would be to just have one quiet minute to yourself, and if there's a takeaway from the session today that you want to share with the others, please put it on the sidebar chat, or unmute yourself to give us a final comment on one of the 4 areas that we've outlined for you. Because definitely it's now about what routines we will keep, what structures we'll keep in place, and how we will go on about the business of promoting all the things discussed now. So feel free to comment.
Andrea, it is so valuable that we reflect on what went well and what would we do differently. And I think this is a great exercise. Thank you for doing these discussions and this group of educators who really want to do their best. And again, sorry for being to insist, but I really treasure the ones that have go back to your schools face to face, because we are right now in that process of making these protocols. And I would like to know if, how is being so far? Do you go everybody, 100% of students all the morning, or some of them stay at home, like this hybrid? How do you say that in English? Hybrid or hybrid?
Perfect. Hybrid is perfect.
Hybrid systems where half of the students stay at home and the other half go. I don't know if you would like to share some of your experience so far.
I think that's opening up to maybe Christy. I don't know if she's still with us from Shanghai. She discussed it a little bit at first about the students being separate in the cafeteria and climbing under the table.
She had to leave, Andrea, because it was about midnight there.
You're right. You're so right. I keep forgetting.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm being sensitive to that. But anybody else has had kids back in the brick and mortar yet that might share with us how you experienced it? Otherwise, we can still communicate via the chat in the WhatsApp, and we can actually post if that is a question or an area of a concern, which is the wonderful thing that we're also connected via the thing in our hand, our smartphone, that we'll be able to answer that question, if not today, shortly, and we can communicate with Christy that way. And certainly
perfect. Yes. I think it's okay. We can move on. Thank you very much, Andrea, for making this happen.
No, thank you guys. You're the ones that make it happen. As we said in the beginning, we were just trying to facilitate discussion, and we leave you with a little tidbit. as we know that well-being is the challenge in education facing us, we are happy to report to you guys that we'll be hosting a webinar, and we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of really practical solutions of how we integrate this and how we make it a priority, because we know, again, that learning does not happen without well-being. And I'm a firm believer in that, because we've all experienced it, we've been there, we've done it. And how we can embrace this as part of our culture moving forward, and be the thing that be the takeaway that we really delve into and transform within our school cultures to be well-being, our flagship. So we'll be conducting that with Gabi, with people from School Day in Finland, and a whole bunch of other experts that have already experienced this. We're leading the first intelligent city in Mexico. The name of the city is Tequila. It's all the way in Jalisco. And we're working with this community to integrate that, and many other schools who are already embracing this solution for well-being. So we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to have you participate. Gabi, I think, has a few words around that she wants to share, yeah?
Yeah, I'm sorry. The idea is for this webinar is, since it's programmed before the start of the school year in Mexico, for those who start at the end of August or beginning of September, the idea is when teachers are coming back, well, for them to have an opportunity, as we had, to take a pause and just think about, if well-being has to be at the core, then how can we do this? No, how can we take this challenge, which is not new? I mean, webinar talking about well-being is something that, of course, it's something that we already knew had to be at the core. Which just, how do we adapt to this situation that we're now going through, and why it's so important? So I think it'll be a very interesting space, for them to have. So we're going to be posting this also on the forum, so that if it has no cost, and you can share it with teachers so that they can prepare and just focus on this.
Just to end there with Gabi, saying that we're not born with this instructions manual of how to regulate our own emotions, or even know ourselves, and through knowing ourselves relate better to others. It's something that really needs to be taught. Those social and emotional skills that really need to be at the core, and few people know that happiness is actually something that is learned at a very early age. It is taught and it is practiced, and when kids grow up with that, there's really giving them the tools that they need to become resilient and strong adults. So we want to leave you with that hopeful note of meeting each other again at the end of the month of July. We'll be keeping in touch, and we thank everybody really from our hearts, heartfelt thanks for making this possible. It's you and your perspectives that enrich each other, and we hope that you have enjoyed it as much as we have, and we thank you for bearing with us with the technical glitches, because we are also being innovators and being creative in the way that we reach out to you, and making it more profitable for everyone through technology. So thank you all.